You're listening to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast, episode 204. Candace Burton joins me to discuss her work with Thrive Philanthropy, a grant maker working globally to build a just, plant-based food system, as well as her journey to being vegan while being an athlete.
Welcome to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast, myth-busting and evidence-based advice to help you kick butt with your health and fitness on a vegan diet. Here's your host, Karina Inkster.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Karina, your go-to no BS vegan fitness and nutrition coach. Thanks so much for joining me today. There is so much in the world right now that we can all feel pretty helpless about, but quite often doing something for our own selves, for our own strength, gives us a sort of anchor when everything else feels a little bit crazy. My coaching team and I received the best message from one of our clients recently. She said, "I suspect I'm emotionally more resilient than I would be if I weren't training right now. Not that getting stronger solves world chaos, but it does ground me and help me feel like I can at least dive into my life each day. Many thanks for guiding me through this journey toward greater fitness." That sense of resilience and all of the health benefits that strength training provides don't come from a giant life overhaul. Starting with 10 minutes a day is all you need to experience results. So if you're ready to build up not just your strength and muscle, but also the kind of resilience that helps you show up for life, even when the world feels insane, my coaching team and I work with vegan and vegan curious folks worldwide. We help you lift more, move better, and fuel your workouts without the guesswork or the bro science, so you can feel strong in both body and mind. Head to karinainkster.com/coaching to see how we can help you nail your goals and still have energy to chase your cat, your kids, your next big adventure. So that's karinainkster.com/coaching. Introducing my guest today, Candace Burton. Candace is a bold force for equity and impact. With a deep commitment to uplifting marginalized communities across Greater Boston, she's helped steward over $8 million in grants since 2021, fueling nonprofits that provide food, housing, and essential resources to those who need it most. But her leadership doesn't stop there. She co-chairs the Boston chapter of Emerging Practitioners in Philanthropy, pushing the sector forward with a fierce dedication to justice and sustainability. She also serves on the board of Thrive Philanthropy, a BIPOC and women-majority grant maker working globally to build a just, plant-based food system. At Thrive, she chairs the Storytellers and Individual Giving Committee and works to inform people how they can support alternatives to animal agriculture. Candace's favorite vegan meal is spicy tofu stir-fry. Here's our conversation. Hey, Candace, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for speaking with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so stoked to hear about your athletic and sports management background and also what you're doing now with Thrive. I'm very stoked. But first, as is the case for everyone who's plant-based who comes on the show, I would love to hear your plant-based origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was pretty sick as a kid growing up. I had a lot of stomach issues and would get nauseous a lot and had vertigo. And I feel like my parents were always just saying, she just has a sensitive stomach. And I would just kind of continue eating a pretty standard American diet. And I'm Christian and we celebrate Lent. So it's kind of for 40 days, you kind of challenge yourself to either start a really good habit or give up something. So I actually did it twice. So I gave up meat twice and felt so much better. So it was really when I went to college, when I turned 18, I was just let me just continue to do this because I feel better when I'm eating more plants, not eating meat. So that's really what started it. And then I really became more interested in the environmental aspect of being plant-based and, also just learning about how factory farming is just leading to a lot of pollution and things like that as well. And back actually 4 years ago with my now husband, we did a Veganuary challenge, and it was really great. And that's really what led me to only having vegan products at home, because we're like, oh, like we can actually like do this in a really sustainable way and support a lot of plant-based products. And it was really great having a supportive partner on that journey as well. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a huge difference. We have a lot of clients who are the only vegans in their entire household. And it can be, I mean, obviously it's doable, but it's an extra challenge to add to already making a big lifestyle change. So that's cool. That's awesome. Very cool. And also you've got a background in sports management. Is that right? What's your experience there?
Yeah. So I grew up playing sports. I was really into tennis and track when I was a kid and kind of did that throughout high school. And then in college, I really wanted to try some new sports just as a way to like make friends and stay athletic and just kind of improve my college experience, I would say. So I did rugby for a year and a half, which was a very interesting experience. I didn't do any contact sports before doing that. And then I did crew for 2.5 years.
Which is rowing for those who are uninitiated, right?
Yeah, rowing.
And you were also one of the ladies on the first all-black women's 8 to row at the head of the Charles, which I just learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this is incorrect info, but I'm pretty sure it's the largest 3-day regatta in the world.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's like folks from all over the world come. And what's really interesting is when I was on my rowing team in college, I just missed making the boat because we were only sending one boat. So it was only like 9 ladies that were able to go. So it was actually a really cool experience. So I was friends with some 2 ladies that founded Rowing in Color. So it was really about getting people of color that were rowing, just talking about their experiences in the sport. And then hopefully by that, encouraging more folks to give it a try, because historically it's a very white sport. So I just kind of like kept that connection. I did an internship at Row New York, which is where I met Denise and Patricia, and they reached out to me and they were like, hey, we're gonna try to get a boat together. I was already like in retirement, like, you know, a couple years after undergrad, and I was like, oh, like this is actually a really cool experience to be able to be in a boat with all Black women, which is, you know, none of us have ever done that before. So it was just a really cool statement to make, and, you know, hopefully inspired some people that were watching the event, and we got to do some media as well. It was an amazing experience. I'm so glad I did it.
That is really cool. And so how long ago was that?
That was 3 years ago.
Okay. Relatively recent history then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. So how does this background of being an athlete your whole life, I mean, whether or not you're actively competing at this moment, you've been an athlete your whole life. How does that fit in with the plant-based piece? Did you have to do some, you know, kind of relearning about fueling your training? Like, how do the two things combine?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I feel like there's still maybe a little stigma out there of, you know, like you're not getting enough protein if you're on a plant-based diet, which is definitely not true. But you definitely have to just relearn kind of ways of composing your meals to make sure that you're getting all the nutrition that you need. So I had a lot of protein shakes for sure, because I was burning a lot of calories, especially when I was rowing. So that's something I just had to incorporate in my diet. And then, yeah, I think it was also, I made it kind of like a fun learning experience, just learning about meals from other cultures and like other countries that naturally have a lot of plant-based food. It was just really great to have like a lot of Indian food or Mexican food and just try some new dishes as well. I did have a lot of like protein shakes as well before practice to make sure I had enough energy throughout the day. So yeah, I think it was just kind of like a combination of all those things. There is definitely some relearning.
Yeah, I think that's the case whether or not someone is an athlete, right? Whenever there's a huge change like that, whether or not they're active, they're going to have to change their routines, and they're going to have to change what they eat for breakfast, and they're going to have to change their food prep. And, you know, that's pretty normal. It's definitely a process. But then there's an extra piece if we're active, if we need higher amounts of calories. I remember when I was eating like over 3,000 calories a day. It was about like 3,300 or so. Of course, I'm still active, but at the time I was training clients in a gym versus online. So I'm on my feet, I'm like demonstrating stuff, and I'm not working out for 8 hours, but it was enough to burn like an extra 800 calories a day-ish. That was a lot of food. Like eating over 3,000 calories of vegan food is a shit ton of food. So that's different, right? Like
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of plant-based foods, especially if they're whole foods, are more nutrient dense and not as calorically dense. So it's just this mass amount of food that you have to stuff into your face at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I feel like the protein shakes and, when you get a good flavor you like, those definitely come in handy.
Yeah, totally.
And like protein bars and things like that.
Totally. They have a place. There's nothing wrong with those. Cool. Well, you do a lot of simultaneous amazing things, but we were going to focus on one of those things, which is a philanthropic program that's called Thrive. And I'd love to get like the overview 10,000 foot description of what that is and then dig a little deeper.
Yeah, so I joined the board of Thrive last year, and it's a really amazing organization. They're helping to fund alternatives to animal agriculture and really amplify and support plant-based food systems worldwide. And they do this through grant making and then also kind of supporting movement building as well.
So what do you mean by movement building?
Thrive, I said it's worldwide, and what's really cool is they have a focus on regions that have been historically underfunded. So Thrive Philanthropy has a really big presence in Africa and currently supporting or reaching 67% of African countries, which is really cool. So Jessica, the founder, she noticed there was a lot of like limited vegan advocacy in the region. So Thrive has an accelerator program and also a specific vegan women's accelerator program because when they first ran the accelerator, they noticed there was a lot of men that were participating, and she wanted to just get more women involved as well. There's now an African Vegan Restaurant Week and like a vegan school lunch campaign as well. So I think it's really great things that Thrive's supporting on that continent for sure. And then like we also, are in 6 continents, so not Antarctica yet. I think Jessica is like hoping, to find some organization that's in Antarctica. So, we can say that we're in all 7.
That's amazing. I want to get into how all of the logistics work, but I'm curious what this looks like on the ground, like quite literally and also figuratively. Mm-hmm. Are we looking at like shifting operations from currently animal-based products to plant-based products? Are we looking at establishing new businesses that are plant-based? What does it look like?
Yeah, so it isn't as much shifting from animal to plant-based. It's really supporting organizations that are trying to get more plant-based foods, plant-based conferences, and like plant-based businesses off the ground. One example in Uganda is we supported single women that were helping with tofu production. And then we also, like I said, support restaurant weeks, we support vegan conferences in different countries as well. So it's really about like supporting and elevating plant-based organizations. And through that, we're, hoping to shift folks to consuming more plant-based products and then, less animal products.
Interesting. Okay. So we're looking at more organizations, businesses, events, conferences versus growing food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do support some farms as well, but it's really like a wide variety of initiatives we're supporting.
That's so cool. That's amazing. So how does this work in practice? How does it work for someone who wants to support this organization? How does it work in distributing resources? What's the deal?
Yeah, so we give out about 100 grants a year to 80 different countries, and they really range. It can be $1,000 grant, a $50,000 grant. Thrive really uses I'm going to use like a very industry term called trust-based philanthropy, which is really running a process that's really trying to alleviate the burden on organizations that are applying for funding. So it's not asking for a whole bunch of paperwork and reporting and some of those things that like some traditional foundations or funders might ask for. So they run that process. And then for donors, you can definitely donate on the website, but we also have started this community grant initiative. So if you become a monthly donor and you donate $10 a month, you're actually able to vote to support a grantee to get additional funds. And those funds can be used for capacity building. Because I said a lot of these organizations are small. They're, still trying to build up and get more resources. So having access to how to become a better fundraiser and trainings on that, or how to operationalize and grow and, just have a larger presence where they're at, just can be really, really helpful for some of these organizations.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So what does it mean to be participatory, to be a participatory grant maker? Does that mean that the folks who are receiving grants are participating?
Yeah. So in Thrive's case, grantees are able to vote as well, which is really cool. It's really about shifting the power dynamics, I would say. So traditionally in philanthropy, I am a program officer at a foundation. So program officer would have conversations with folks, and then the program officer would select who gets funded. And that's the power dynamic. But here it's we're opening it up to people that have received funding. We're opening it up to donors to be what organizations do you want to support? What projects do you think are really exciting? And we have a vote, and then the organization that gets the most vote, we have 3 organizations that folks can choose from. And it's kind of through an email. Everyone kind of can read a little description about each organization, what they're doing. And then, the organization that gets the most votes gets the additional funding.
Interesting. Are there other organizations that work like this? Is this kind of a growing trend in philanthropy? I mean, it seems pretty cutting edge at this point.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of funders that are doing this. I will still say that it's not the norm. So it is definitely a growing trend. I would love to see it more. At the Boston Foundation, I actually run a participatory process with what I do through safety net grants. And it's been really great because what happens is organizations that, might get overlooked, are elevated by folks from the community because, they're just noticing different things in the application and wanting to elevate and organizations that, seem really community connected, but maybe don't have enough resources and maybe don't know how to approach a foundation and get that conversation or things like that. So it's been amazing. And I've seen it kind of at my organization and then through Thrive. I love that it's also grantees as well that have a voice too, because I feel like it can also just inform them of other projects that are going on around the world. And there could potentially be, alignment and collaborations in the future.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, of course, as usual, we have show notes where people can go directly to all the links. But if you're listening and you want to go to the website, it's thrivephilanthropy.org. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
If folks want to go to the community grant making page, you can just type in thrivephilanthropy.org and then /community grant maker. And then it takes you kind of right to our community grant page.
That's amazing. So how did you get involved with Thrive? I mean, this is relatively new. You mentioned last year.
Yeah. And Thrive at that time was really just focused on building out their board. They also have steering committees because I said they're in a lot of countries, 80 countries. So there's regional steering committees as well. So that helps inform the work. So it's not just Jessica, again, reading applications and making decisions. It's really folks that live in the region that are influencing that. But to answer your question, I would say it was actually through my work at the Boston Foundation. I was on a listserv that was about trust-based philanthropy. And then Jessica sent an email that she was looking for board members for this organization. And at the time I was I don't know if I'm experienced enough to do this but this is such a cool organization. So I actually emailed her and I was I think your organization is really awesome. I don't know if I have enough experience or can fundraise what you need to be on the board. And she was you know what, you should still apply anyway. So I did. And it was, just a short form and then a conversation that we had. And then, we selected our first 15 board members, and some have rolled off, and we actually have 3 new board members. But I just think it was so cool because it was like really combining the work that I do, but then also this plant-based piece as well. So it's really awesome.
Mm-hmm. Hey, not all of us get to do work in that field, so it's pretty great when we can align that. It's pretty exciting. Now, you do a lot of other work in the greater Boston area, I believe, on food security. Are there other organizations that you're working with? You've mentioned one of them. What's the deal there?
Yeah, so currently I'm the senior program officer and support our social safety net grant making at the Boston Foundation. So that includes a lot of work, but some of the organizations I get to support are in the food security space. So that can include pantries, but I feel like I've been really excited to work with some of the farms and like local farms that grow food and either distribute it for free, have CSAs. They're teaching people how to grow vegetables and things that are like culturally relevant too. So there's some like really amazing organizations I'm able to support. I'm thinking of like Gaining Ground, EC Farm, Urban Farming Institute. There are like so many that I can list, but that's been a really cool part of my work too, because it is also kind of, in food systems and thinking about like how to make food more sustainable, especially right now where groceries are super expensive and a lot of folks are struggling to afford food. So it's cool to be able to support organizations that are like teaching people how to grow food and like have community gardens and things like that.
100%. So where does veganism factor in with that work? Is it focused on plant-based foods? Is it a separate issue? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily focused on plant-based foods, but all of these organizations are basically growing fruits and vegetables. So it kind of just like happens to be plant-based, which is really cool. And yeah, so it's really about giving people access to fresh foods and culturally relevant foods, like I said. So one example is just organization that like a lot of folks like wanted hot peppers. And so they like the next year, like kind of changed their farming plan to make sure they were able to grow hot peppers to donate to this organization. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's been really great. Yeah.
Wow. So is this what you're doing full time? Is there something else happening? Like, I feel like you've got many hats is the sense I'm getting.
Yeah. So my full-time work is giving grants to organizations that are doing basic need support, like food. I mean, I am also on the steering committee of EPIP, which stands for Emerging Practitioners in Philanthropy. So there's a Boston chapter that's really about like connecting folks that are newer to philanthropy, so like less than 10 years, and networking, and then also providing a space for folks to connect, ask questions. Sometimes this field can be hard, like being a younger person in the field, and like a lot of folks stay for a really long time. So it's like very cool work. And so it's really great to be able to like network with peers.
That's amazing. So my next question is, when do you sleep?
I know. No. It's funny because I enjoy what I do so much. So it's like, it doesn't feel like work. And then I'm still able to make sure I have like, I'm stopping work at this time. And usually, it's very rare that I have long nights. So I'm just able to focus on things at a time. Yeah, somehow able to make it work. But it's really because I enjoy the work.
Hey, that makes a huge difference. I just had a discussion with one of my friends about, he's thinking about changing industries, basically just to align more with his own values and interests. And we were talking about how relatively rare it is to find work that you love, first of all. I mean, that's like the ideal, but also work that's even in a field that interests you or is aligned in values, like being able to work in an area related to plant-based eating. Like, we're pretty lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I do understand the like loving what you do thing makes it seem a lot less draining.
Yeah. And I feel like you procrastinate less too.
Totally.
You like actually want to do.
That's a great point. Very cool. Okay, so you got to tell me what your favorite vegan go-to meal is in your area, which is Boston, right?
Yeah. So what I like to cook, there are like two. Like if I go to a restaurant, it's one thing. But what I usually like to cook is like a tofu stir fry. It's like pretty easy, like pretty filling and nutritious. And then you can kind of like flavor it how you want. So, if I want like more of a spicy peanut sauce or, something that's not as spicy. And so it's kind of fun to like mix flavors there. And I will say the best vegan restaurant is Lulu Green around here. So if you're ever in the area, like I highly recommend you go. Everything they have is amazing. And they also have for holidays, like special 4 or 5 course meals and like wine pairing. So it's like so fancy.
Is it all plant-based?
Yeah. It's all plant-based.
All vegan? Amazing.
Too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we have listeners in Boston, so.
I know. But I have to make that plug because they're great.
That's so cool. So just going back to Thrive to wrap things up, where do you see the organization going, or what do you want to see for the organization in the next, let's call it, year to 5 years? Like where do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, well, I hope to see it grow because the work that Thrive's able to do on not a huge budget is really amazing. Like already being in 1 out of every 3 countries and having a really big presence in continent of Africa too. I just want more resources to go to Thrive so like they can do more good in the world and like support more plant-based organizations.
And does that mostly come from folks donating?
Yeah. So Thrive, we do kind of seek out grants and things like that. But I mean, individual donors, and that's why we have a board. It's like we're trying to grow that individual donor base just because like grants are not always guaranteed. But if you have like a really strong individual donor base, that can just kind of set us up for the future and like allow us to keep growing.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you were to leave our listeners with something, whether it's an action item or just a random thought, what would that be?
I think what's really cool being plant-based, that the diet part is like actually so important. So I'm like not trying to minimize that, but it's also really great that I'm able to support an organization that's worldwide, like spreading the plant-based movement too. I feel like that has more impact that, it's not only what I'm eating and consuming, but then like where I'm also donating my time and money as well. So I feel like that's just kind of my tidbit. It's like, because I think it can be kind of depressing hearing like, only like 1% of the world is vegan. And sometimes you read these articles about like restaurants like that were vegan, like not being vegan anymore or things like that. So it's given me a lot of hope, like, actually being able to support an organization like Thrive. So hopefully it'll give your listeners some hope too.
Oh, that's amazing. And so this is, I assume, what you mean in the notes that I had before our conversation. I assume it's what you mean by making a difference outside of what we eat.
Yeah.
In supporting plant-based food systems, right? So supporting something like Thrive is a way to further veganism with, I'm not going to say without changing your own diet, because we all should, obviously. Yeah. But it's like in addition, right? In addition to changing our own eating patterns, we can also support the furthering of plant-based diets on a systemic level through Thrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is pretty cool that you can do that.
It is. And I feel like you said it perfectly.
Well, thanks. Well, Candace, it was so great to speak with you. We will have show notes as always, so we'll link directly to Thrive and socials for folks to connect with you. But it's been fantastic to speak with you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Karina. This has been great. And thanks so much for getting back to me, because I've listened to your podcast. It's just always really great to hear all the guests and their perspectives.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being a listener and a guest. How cool is that?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks so much. Candace, thanks again for joining me on the show. Connect with Candace and check out Thrive Philanthropy at our show notes, nobullshitvegan.com/204. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the No Bullshit Vegan podcast at nobullshitvegan.com.